Adam turned up the radio and flashed a playful smile at his wife, Natalie. She smiled back, but gently reminded him to keep the volume at a reasonable level. The two had been crawling forward in bumper-to-bumper traffic for nearly 2 hours on their way to a lakeside cottage they'd rented for a relaxed weekend gathering. Their friends were also running late, so Adam and Natalie decided there was no use stressing. They'd all arrived behind schedule anyway. By the time they finally reached the lake house, they practically tumbled out of the car, breathing in the fresh outdoor air. The warm sunlight and the sweet aroma of pine trees helped wash away the frustration of the long drive. Eager to welcome their guests, they quickly shifted into preparation mode. Natalie set up a large table on the deck, adorning it with colorful paper lanterns, while Adam fired up the grill. Before long, the first car rumbled down the gravel driveway. Nick, Megan, Chris, and Vanessa spilled out, chatting and laughing as they made their way through the creaky wooden gate. These two couples were close friends of Adam and Natalie, and Nick and Megan had invited Chris and Vanessa to join the gathering. A short while later, another car arrived, carrying Natalie's sister, Samantha, and her friend, Ava. The men gravitated toward Adam to help with the barbecue, gathering around racks of marinated meat, while the women settled around the outdoor table with drinks, catching up on the latest news and gossip. Soon, the smoky aroma rising from the grill made everyone's stomachs growl. The women wandered over to oversee the cooking, circling the grill and basking in the warmth of the glowing coals. For a moment, it was quiet, everyone captivated by the flickering orange flames. Then Ava glanced up, locking eyes with Adam. He felt a sudden pang of guilt, and something else. Ava, a college student in her early 20s, had dark hair and an air of confident charm. Adam had noticed her before, and it was clear she'd picked up on his interest, often giving him playful, teasing looks. He'd always force himself to look away, unwilling to disrespect Natalie. But this time, with everyone else engrossed in conversation, that shared glance lingered in the air, charged and tense. Sensing the awkward pause, Adam cleared his throat and announced that the food was ready. With laughter and cheers, the group gathered around the table, piling their plates with juicy grilled meat. Since Adam was the last to sit down, the only available seat was right next to Ava. By the time they opened a second bottle of alcohol, everyone was starting to relax, and the conversation turned more personal. Adam felt Ava's intense gaze more than once, but she played it cool, chatting and joking with the group as if nothing was out of the ordinary. Still, every time he glanced her way, his nerves tingled. She was so close, and it took all his self-control not to reach out to her. At one point, she caught him looking and gave him a mischievous wink before turning to talk to someone else. Lost in his thoughts, Adam snapped at Natalie when she asked him to grab more drinks from inside. He hadn't meant to. He'd been daydreaming. Feeling guilty, he suggested a quick toast before heading in. The group cheered, raising their glasses. Chris decided to liven things up by playing music from a portable speaker, leading everyone to a darker corner of the yard to dance. Meanwhile, Natalie and her sister went inside to clean up, store the leftover food, and add a few logs to the wood fire hot tub. The dancing went on for a while, with people slipping away in pairs to soak in the cozy tub. Hours later, they trickled back, looking relaxed and sleepy. Adam and Natalie planned to go last, so they could tidy up afterward. However, as the night wore on, Ava never joined the others in the hot tub. She stayed outside, chatting. By the time dawn began to break through the trees, the women decided they'd had enough fun for one night and headed to bed. Ava, who had stepped away to the bathroom, returned to find only the men still awake. They perked up when she walked back in. Ava was the kind of woman who left everyone a little flustered. She knew they were all vying for her attention and leaned into it, welcoming flirtatious touches and giggles whenever someone playfully reached out or whispered something in her ear. Finally, Chris lost all restraint mid-dance. He suddenly pulled her in close, leaving little to the imagination. She laughed but didn't resist. At that moment, Adam's jealousy flared. He abruptly turned off the music, leaving everyone standing in awkward silence. They shuffled back to the table, taking swigs from whatever was left in the bottle. Every now and then, the men would sneak inside to check on their sleeping wives, the alcohol fueling wild ideas. Gradually, the group thinned out until only Adam and Ava remained. Their eyes locked, and neither said a word. They didn't need to. He grabbed her hand, and they hurried off to the hot tub area, disappearing for quite some time. Meanwhile, Nick and Chris wandered the property, calling out for Adam and Ava with no success. Inside, Natalie stirred awake, realizing Adam hadn't come to bed. She wandered out to see if he needed help wrapping up the evening. To her surprise, the table was deserted. The men were in the yard, searching for Adam and Ava. Natalie followed, calling her husband's name. She noticed steam rising from the tub area and guessed he might have gone in for a late soak. Thinking she might join him, she tiptoed toward the door, only to spot a pair of women's sandals on the threshold. A wave of confusion washed over her. Who could still be in there? Feeling embarrassed that she might be interrupting someone, she backed away. But then she ran into Nick and Chris, their worried expressions hinting that something was wrong. That's when it hit her. If Ava was missing and Adam was missing, they might both be in there. Natalie's heart raced. She spun around, yanked open the door, and her worst fears were confirmed. There, in the glow of the small wooden hot tub cabin, Adam and Ava were entwined in a way that left no room for doubt. Natalie screamed, lunging at them with fists flying. Nick and Chris rushed in to hold her back, but she was frantic, hurt, furious, and betrayed. Jerking away from the men, she ran into the house, woke her sister, and broke down, telling her what had happened. Sleepy-eyed and alarmed, the other women scrambled outside, desperately trying to keep the peace, but Natalie was too upset. Her sister quickly called for a ride, and they left, tears streaming down Natalie's face. A stunned silence fell over the yard. Before long, Nick and Chris rallied behind Adam. They'd been friends for years. Their wives, who had never been particularly close to Natalie, more or less shrugged it off too. Ava, mortified as soon as sobriety set in, grabbed her car keys and sped off, unwilling to face the aftermath. The few who stayed behind eventually gathered around the table again, whispering about what had happened. Adam stared at his phone, knowing Natalie would file for divorce. He tried calling anyway, but she had turned off her phone early that morning. Tear-streaked and exhausted, Natalie went straight home with her sister. After a brief, restless sleep, she called for a ride to the courthouse to start the divorce process. She never set foot in the house she'd shared with Adam again, choosing instead to stay at her sister's place. When she needed her belongings, she sent her sister to collect them while Adam was at work to avoid any confrontation. A month later, the paperwork was finalized. Natalie decided on a fresh start in a nearby city, where a decent job offer waited. Consumed by guilt, Adam sold the lake house and sent her the money, hoping it might help mend things. But she had no interest in reconciliation. Soon, Natalie found love again and remarried. Meanwhile, Adam never forgave himself for cheating. Trying to bury the memories, he spiraled down a dark path that eventually landed him in rehab, where he's still undergoing treatment to this day.